We acknowledge and respect the first humans of the unceded land we call San Francisco, the Ramaytush Ohlone. We condemn the genocide of these and other tribes across the Western Hemisphere. We honor their legacy and history, and we support rematriation and sovereignty efforts. Hi everyone, welcome to Storied San Francisco. I'm Jeff Hunt, and I'll be your host. This is episode 14 of our 5th season, and it's all about a cool little spot called Mission Bowling Club. Opened in 2012, this 6-lane bowling alley offers food, drinks, special event spaces for gatherings of all kinds, art, and community. I sat down with Molly Bradshaw, who opened MBC with a friend a little more than 10 years ago. In part 1, we get to know Molly, who made her way from the Mendocino coast to suburban Sacramento and eventually the Bay Area, where many of her ancestors are from. Here's Molly.
I am a native Californian.
Okay.
I was born in Ukiah, which is up north.
Right.
Oh, the poppy.
I just got it recently.
It's gorgeous.
Ukiah.
Yes.
I know a little bit of Ukiah.
Mm-hmm. That was the closest hospital.
Right.
So we, my family moved to Mendocino County in a town called Little River.
Wait, do you know the Andiron? Seaside and inn and cabins. It's in Little River.
Yeah.
Technically.
Yeah. I mean, I know. They're all places that I have traveled through, but I was a small child when we left.
Okay.
But I definitely know a lot of the geography.
Yes.
And, it's a beautiful place.
I love it up there.
Yeah, I feel like it was a magical gift that my parents gave me to be born and raised in a rural environment where you could just be, as my mom put it, feral children.
Right.
And just be really wild and just run around. So we moved from Little River to Sacramento area. Mm-hmm. And then
when you were how old?
7.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So maybe you had barely started school? Or
2nd grade.
Okay.
Yeah. Then Sacramento, Citrus Heights, a suburb of Sacramento.
Fun fact, my dog is from Citrus Heights.
Oh, it's it's a fun suburb, in some ways. You get to get a lot of opportunities to go to the mountains, the river. Mm-hmm. Sacramento is, I think, a beautiful downtown with all its trees. Mm-hmm. Again, you got to kind of be a little rambunctious and, you could make mistakes and not get the book thrown at you. Okay. In some ways. You can be a rebellious teenager.
And by you, do you mean you?
Yes. I have been, my high school times were a lot of going into parks or places that you weren't supposed to be just to hang out. Mm-hmm. Just hang out and be with your friends.
Be kids. Be teenagers.
Be teenagers. Sit on the rooftops of places that you weren't supposed to.
Oh, God. Yeah. I miss that.
Yeah.
One of the last places I did that, I used to live a building that sadly just burned. Oh. But it's next to the Beanbag at Hayes and Divisadero.
Oh, yeah.
And we were on, I believe, the 2nd or 3rd floor, whatever it was. We had a window that I'm sure was once the side of our building. Oh. But it opened onto the roof of the Beanbag. Oh. And one of my roommates worked at the Beanbag, and she's like, no, I talked to the owner. It's totally cool. So we just set up chairs and stuff. I guess that was kind of legal or sanctioned. It was sanctioned.
Permission of the owner.
Correct. Yeah, but it was a rooftop hang, and it was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was fun. And so what kind of, let's skip to teenage years. Like what kind of things were you into besides hanging out where maybe you weren't supposed to?
Yeah, right. A lot of it was punk rock shows.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely enjoyed independent music. The scene in Sacramento was really fun back then. It was definitely do it yourself.
Yeah. Capitol Garage. Was that a place?
Yeah, we hung out at this place called like D Street Studios.
Okay.
And a lot of, there was like a ska, the Sharps, and then also a lot of just punk rock music, splashes of funk, and just experimental stuff. Just people being wild.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Teenagers and young people. Were you into a band called Creeper Lagoon? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I know Creeper Lagoon. I don't know them, but I know the band. A lot of, Lookout Records. Going to Gilman Street on the weekends to see bands. Cattle Club. There's just like that history.
Well, that's actually, that makes me wonder. So you started up north, you're 7, you moved to the Sacramento area. Do you remember, and when was it, like some of your first trips to San Francisco? This is a podcast about San Francisco, so we'll have to talk about that a little bit.
Well, my trips to the Bay Area have been all my life.
Yeah.
My grandparents, my grandfather, my great-grandmother, my grandparents came from the southern portion of Texas. And when there was a lot of migrant work for black people during the war, and the shipbuilding yards in Richmond, California. And my great-grandfather was a steward for the railroad. Oh, wow. A baker, actually, did that. And then my great-grandmother, they had a house, 1709 Woolsey Street in South Berkeley.
No way.
And that's where we came since I was born.
Yeah.
So
amazing.
Berkeley is a place that I really know really well. My grandparents lived in East Oakland near the Eastmont Mall. And so between Berkeley and East Oakland, that's where we spent every summer, holidays. And so I really actually know the East Bay really well. So Gilman Street wasn't anything, it was new for as I was becoming a more independent person. Right. And finding places to go hang out and have fun. San Francisco, the epicenter off of Valencia Street is a place that was like a do-it-yourself. It was above Closed by Contact. The thrift store, I believe, if I remember correctly, near Valencia Gardens. So coming to San Francisco was always a little bit more of a trek. We usually stopped at Berkeley, Telegraph Street, things like that. That's where the suburban kids kind of stop, I think.
Well, also, that's a lot. I mean, there's plenty over there.
There's plenty.
Any other memories of places in San Francisco as a kid?
Pier 39 all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely, we would come out here to go to the circus. A lot of it was more East Bay, things like that. I remember being taken, or my grandfather took me over to Sam's over off of the Bayview. I just remember some random trips. My mom had friends who lived over by the ocean, so I always remember that one house that was with the red, blue, white, yellow color.
Oh, like a Mondrian painting? Yeah, I know that house.
And then some of the other houses that were just wildly...
You knew someone who lived there?
No,
or you
no.
Just
I just remember seeing those.
Right.
We would always have the best time going from the curve from Emeryville into the city and watching and seeing all of the art that was built in that sort of marshy flats. I don't know if you remember that. So there was like a Snoopy, the Baron Snoopy, there was a King Tut. There were all these like public sculptures that were there, and that was always the really fun thing to kind of look for and see what was new. Yeah. So,
do you know what brought your parents up north? Like what, why they decided? And also, and sorry, 2-part question.
Yeah.
do you have siblings?
Yes, I have an older sister and a twin sister.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Really, my mom and my father met here in San Francisco. I feel like they were just trying to find a new house, or new place. My father's built our home in Little River.
Amazing.
They were just a person who was very talented. My father died when we were really young, so we just stayed there.
Yeah.
But there's a strong artist community. He was part of the local art scene as well as local theater productions, and so they were just embedded in that community. And so I'm sure my mom stayed there for many reasons, but it's not so much of a joke, but at this point we always say, well, the well does run dry sometimes. And literally, the well does. Yeah. It's very hard to live as a single mom with three kids under the age of 3.
Aye.
And so, when you get 2 for 1 with twins, your house is really full.
My goodness.
So, it was just a time, and my mom moved to Sacramento to be in bigger communities, more opportunities for work, things like that.
And probably thinking back, probably better chances of daycare and or more of a community to help her raise kids, or
no, for sure, all of those things.
All the things.
It was a 45-minute drive, and then it was from Little River to Fort Bragg, which was sort of the biggest public school.
Right.
So it was a bit more about finding things that were more easier.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so anything else you want to talk about from maybe your teen or high school years?
Just glad I survived it.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't
Here
that
we are.
bad, but there was. I was very determined to graduate from college, determined to go to college, then graduate. I really was independent early on. I lived in the Tahoe, formerly known as Squaw Valley region.
Right.
For a summer, so I just kind of was very adventurous, and then knew I wanted to move out, and lived in my great grandmother's house. After
in Berkeley. Okay.
After I graduated from college.
That's why you know the address.
Yes, 1709 Wellesley Street.
Yes.
Yes, I definitely know that address. So I got a chance to live in Berkeley after college. Knew then I kind of wanted to keep my education going. So then after a few years of just, hanging out, working, I decided to apply to grad school. And so 97, 99, I was in Seattle.
Okay.
I have a master's in public health.
Okay.
And then came back here with a lot of debt, and I started bartending, serving.
Okay.
Got into bartending in, I think, 90. Well, actually, before I left, I got into bartending. But so when I came back in 99, I started bartending again more regularly.
Can you name drop bars you bartended at? I mean, it could be Rattle if you want. I
don't think it exists anymore, but a local bar, Kips, was one of my in Berkeley.
Okay.
Off of Durant, if I remember. First Place Billiards, Bluesville. Then I got recruited to work at Warfield Fillmore, Kilowatt.
Oh.
And then.
Were you working at Kilowatt around 2000, 2001? By any chance?
Probably, I think 2002, 3.
Okay.
Maybe 3, and then 2008, 7, 8 was when I opened Mini Bar. So I was kind of dabbling Fillmore, Warfield. So it was 4 of us opening Mini Bar. Then Summer and I opened this in 2011.
Okay.
10.
Is Mini Bar an okay subject just to quickly talk about?
Of course.
Because I live over there.
Yeah,
it's I think sometime I had been there before, but sometime during the pandemic is when my wife and I discovered It's like a 10-minute walk for us.
Okay. Yeah.
And I absolutely love the place. And we were there, my wife and I were there just a couple months ago. I've always loved the shows that they have up. And I was like, oh, Michelle and I are talking about doing a show. We should do it here.
That's so much fun.
It is so much. I love that place and the people. And
it's there's a, I don't know who coined it, but like, there's, a ratio of regulars to sort of just random people who discover you. It's like 80% regulars and 20% new faces. But I truly love working at Minibar, but I also really appreciate the friendships that I've made there.
That's great.
It is a bar that really embraces the idea of being a part of the community and being sort of a point for people to connect to.
100%.
And there are many bars that kind of also have that sort of personality in that neighborhood.
100%.
It's a great neighborhood.
Yeah.
It is just has so many options and so many different people and so much history and a real balanced challenge of trying to keep the honor and traditions of the neighborhood front and center, as well as respecting a lot of what the changes, that were done just a neighborhood away, with Fillmore and everything. So it's just a beautiful place.
Can I
really
tell
enjoy
you
it.
on that topic, sort of when we fell in love with Minibar? So this would be the summer of 2021, so probably in June sometime.
Okay.
And they were reopened, and I can't remember where we were. I think we might have been in the Parklet because anyway, that was when and I'm forgetting the gentleman's name.
Yeah.
But an older gentleman let us know that we could come back on July 4th for the free barbecue. And he said it was his barbecue.
Yes, it was James.
I'll just tell, it was James.
It's James'
absolutely,
barbecue.
Yeah. So,
that was for his birthday.
Just tell a little story that's not about Mission Bowling Club, but real fast. It's related. Is that we did go back for the July 4th barbecue.
Oh.
And someone said, "Oh yeah, go on in. The food's in the back. Help yourself." And I went back there and I met two women who let me know that James had really almost nothing to do with the barbecue. That they made it. I was like, "Oh, I see what's going on here."
Oh, was that Shay?
Shay!
Yeah.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah. One of them was Shay. And
was,
she's the person who told me that it used to be a black video store.
Oh.
Way, way back in the day.
Okay, because when we signed the lease, it was like an Eastern European market for special foods.
Okay.
It was,
that must have been the
in between. And then also a photo studio of dubious.
Oh, ill repute.
Yeah, something they're we don't know what kind of pictures they were taking, but I'm like, okay.
Right. Well, okay, so obviously, again, this is not a podcast about Minibar, but you did say you helped open it. Can you tell that story of you were bartending, and when I asked you to rattle off names, I was in addition to Killer, I was hoping to hear some places that maybe I went, I was maybe you were my bartender. Yeah. It's definitely possible, but we won't get tied up in that. But so you jumped from bartending to I'm going to open a place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
was that like?
Great opportunity just so listen up, kids. When opportunities present itself, just say yes.
Oh.
No, it's,
I'm kind of living my life that way lately.
I think it's time and place. It's always time and place.
Sure.
And I made decisions. I was hoping I could buy a house or something, and instead, and I didn't have enough money. But you get to a certain point where okay, if I keep doing this, maybe in 4 more years I might have enough money. But it's a sizable chunk to start.
For me, it was hoping next time there's a recession that I will actually have money. And that didn't work.
Right. Timing.
Third time, and it didn't work out.
Timing is everything.
Yeah.
So I was able to, parlay my experience bartending, because at this point it was well over 10 years, to my friends who have had a dream of owning their own place. And so I, come across as a trustworthy individual and hardworking, and I think they recognized that I could figure this out with them, because we were all kind of new. And that was sort of the start of the conversation. And then we all pooled our resources. Some folks even, put all their time into it, which is great. I had a nonprofit job working at UCSF for a while on Parnassus, and then getting another job actually in Oakland. So my commute kind of all changed in the course of doing the legwork, and really Summer and John, were definitely like a lot of the inspiration. Summer had a huge design background and really was a visionary of like sort of what comfort and like creating an environment that felt like something that someone can't get just sitting in their own home.
Yeah.
So you got to create something that makes people feel comfortable, that the lighting is nice and the mood is set and little details are thought of to make people feel like, we thought of those details.
Not an accident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Minibar came around, signed a lease in 2007. It took quite a while. There was, a lot of different community involvement, community input. We definitely had to make sure that we did right by the folks in that neighborhood. They had a lot of, historically, San Francisco has had a lot of bars and restaurants. I mean, it's really actually shrunk.
It's a drink, right?
Yeah, but it's a drinking town. In the history of it, it was.
Bourdain called it a two-fisted drinking town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it is. And I was gonna say, okay, so maybe it's just a turn of speech or whatever, but like, y'all did not have to do community input.
Yes, we do.
Technically. And I feel like that's the problem, is that a lot of things, a lot of groups, a lot of people don't do that.
True. And
it's amazing that you did.
It was really great. We had art shows to show people, like this is what we mean when we say mini bar, cocktails, and art. This is what we want to create in terms of the environment. Having public input creates an opportunity for you to meet the people you hope to serve. And so no 100%. Matter what, we really wanted to do that. Also, Summer and John actually just lived up the hill, like just kind of not even probably like 10 minutes away, like yourself.
Yeah. So they were part of that community.
Yes, they walked the streets. They knew right. Had breakfast at Eddie's far too many times to even count. Even before, Summer lived right off of Alamo Square, off of Scott Street. So we really did know that neighborhood in terms of just walking up and down. Had my birthday there at Wazima and go there quite a bit. And when we opened, I think was barely open. Bar Crudo opened the same year as us. Mojo Cafe, which is now the Fool's Errand place.
Right. But
Remy, as just a fixture in the community, was really helpful to sort of let us know who our neighbors are. Chicago's the barbershop. I think that they moved at the time when we were coming into the neighborhood, so they moved into their bigger place.
Okay.
There was a hair braiding shop. Novak was our neighbor, and they were really, really helpful. So there was just a lot around us. I think Little Star Pizza had maybe opened 1 to 2 years before us.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, and so there was change happening in the neighborhood. Harding Theater was still a touch point of controversy, and you didn't know which way people were going to go. So knowing all the challenges that Harding was having, and we knew about that. Of course, we knew that not everyone was going to like us. So we did what we could to meet our neighbors and be there. And it still happened. We still had protests, and we just had to work through it. And that's what we did.
There's a little bit of that's like San Francisco can't have it. It has to be all the different ways.
It's good.
There's always
It's part of the process.
It's always gonna be something. But I was gonna say that all that sort of work y'all did up front it shows not only in the place but also the longevity. I mean, it's 16 or 15, 16 years or so, and it's still
2008 was our first year.
So 15 years.
Yeah.
That's
another note, kids. Open in a recession. So we opened in the recession.
Right.
It was really scary too.
Yeah.
But also, we got a great lease.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were able to take a place that we had to transfer liquor licenses in. This was not a bar.
Right.
We created a bar there.
Right.
So we obviously had to go through police, local, the ABC, everything. We had to do everything because of the newness factor. That's not the right word, but because it was a brand new establishment.
Rezoning or whatever. Not
all of that.
Whatever that.
All
yeah,
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was really a great learning process, and that really did help us know how to and I can't say do it the right way, because I think every place is different. You never know what you're gonna just witness.
Right.
You know, every community is different.
Right,
but
right.
we were able to have some of the requests were not, oh, okay, yeah, we know what that is.
You know how to
I know how to do it.
Tasks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We were able to, I think really the thing that was different was the scope and scale. Obviously, mini, mega.
Right,
you know, it's
right.
like 800 square feet.
Literally.
This is 10,000 square feet.
Wow. Okay. I mean, I have it in my mind as way bigger, but just quickly before we move from mini to here, you mentioned a fear. Were there other fears of? I mean, being a first time, and you had a group that you're with, right?
Yeah.
But like, I would imagine there's some fears.
Oh, absolutely.
Challenges, but also like, oh shit, what do I do if this doesn't work?
I just put my so-called house fund on the line to buy myself into this, and I didn't know what it was going to bring. It was a recession.
Yeah.
And in some ways, yeah, it's just that, also, you know, the fear of, you know, going to business. Yeah, I've never been into business before, you know.
Did you feel like you had a business mind at the time?
I think the only thing I thought to myself is, because I do take slight offense when people don't understand how it can kind of be a backhanded insult, is it's like, oh, I can do that if you did it.
Right.
Oh, you did it?
It must be easy.
It must be easy. I'm like, sure, go ahead.
Knock yourself out.
Have fun. Call me when you need. I'll be here. But I didn't know what to think. I had great resources. All the people who I've worked for offered me advice.
Oh, that's awesome.
Meaning
other bar owners?
Other bar owners.
That's great.
They gave me spreadsheets. They showed me how to calculate things.
Yeah.
It is a business of ounces. So you have to understand inventory, you know, and hospitality and service. And I actually probably had to learn that on the fly. I do enjoying people.
Right.
So it felt natural.
Yeah.
Also, I don't feel like it is something, there's technique. I loved sitting at Al Limbeck, Daniel Hyatt's bar when they opened, and he taught me about craft, you know, like not craft cocktails per se, but how to craft an experience and what that means, which is like attention, a good story, a quip, you know, a bit of knowledge, listening.
Oh, the biggest.
Those are the things.
That's
like,
the biggest.
When the bartender's talking more than you, or than the guest, I don't know.
Yeah.
I like to hear people's stories.
Yeah.
I enjoy.
Well, there is. Correct me if I'm wrong. There is a difference between bartending at a bar or bartending at the bar at the sports game, concert, like bars at versus like a neighborhood bar.
Yeah,
totally different experience.
Sometimes I would always say it's like, I'm not the show at the Fillmore, but when I'm at mini bar, I have to be cognizant that I could be the show.
Part of the show, yeah.
I could be part of the show.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's mind-blowing, and I don't see this very often, but if a bartender is on their phone, you're like, Like, no.
I don't even understand physically how that's possible.
I don't see that happening very much.
No.
I don't think it's a real big thing, but
No.
I do think that, we're part of the show. So they're looking for either information, a quip, a fun, like they're just, and you read the room. Everyone's different.
Yeah.
If someone wants to be on their phone, that's fine.
Yeah.
But it's cheaper to drink at home.
That was Molly Bradshaw, owner of Mission Bowling Club. In the next episode, we'll hear all about Molly and her friend Summer's leap from minibar to opening the Mission's coolest little bowling alley. Part 2 drops next Tuesday. Music for Storied San Francisco was produced, performed, and curated by Otis McDonald. Michelle Kilfeather does original photography for us. Aaron Lim of Bitch Talk Podcast is our contributing producer. And the show is produced and hosted by me, Jeff Hunt. Now in our 5th season, we have more than 200 episodes available on our website, storiedsf.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're able to, please rate and review the show. And drop us a line at storiedsf@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Stay strong, weird, and healthy. And we'll see you next time on Storied San Francisco.
This podcast is a proud member of the BFF.FM podcast network. Learn more at podcast.bff.fm.
BFF.FM, best frequencies forever.